I'm not nervous at all. I'm very nervous. Oh yeah, sure. And if you feel like tagging me on me, Sara, Loretta on everything, and you're the only one out there. Okay. All right, is everybody settled in? We're ready to get started? Excited? All right, great. So I did career day a week ago. So this is like a little weird for me, not talking to third graders. So if I use really dumb language, I'm sorry. But hi, hello. My name is Sara. This is really cool and full circle for me. I actually 5 years ago was sitting exactly where you guys are the day that I decided to start freelancing, which is like wild to me. And this is my second year speaking at work, so I'm really honored that I built a relationship with this organization. So if this is your first session, looking at you, but I know this, please take advantage of the people that are in and around you today. I have literally met my best freelancer friends from not only this conference, but the organization in general. So I know we all like to be in our own bubbles and be introverts, but please take advantage of it. Seriously, your network is your network, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. But you guys are here to learn all about me, and more specifically, balancing clients and creatorship. So what does that mean? Really what we're going to talk about is how to streamline, systemize process, and really accept that you can still be creative even if you automate the fuck out of your business, okay? And I'm not going to apologize, I swear a lot. Listen, I got tattoos, I have old lady flipping the world off. So if you're uncomfortable, head on out. All right, so a little bit about me. I am the Chief Digital Architect at Systems. It's also my company. I am a 3-time founder. So my first business, actually I'm a design agency. I did branding and websites and video, like every other woman who starts freelancing, okay? But I started getting clients who couldn't tell me their pricing, couldn't tell me their processes, but thought their logo was going to make them money. How many of you guys have like hit that, where you're like, yes, design is what I need, but you're so overwhelmed with everything else, right? So in that, I owned that design agency for about 3.5 years, and in my last year, I started getting clients who literally were closing their doors months after working with me. And I started seeing a business therapist, and I was like, fuck, like, am I the problem? Like, what is wrong with me? Like, all of these incredible nonprofits and impact brands and food brands are literally shutting their doors. Like, what am I doing wrong? And what we realized, what I just said, and I kind of cut the lead, but it is literally because they weren't operating, they were visualizing. And so I actually worked for a nonprofit before that, and I did a lot of business development, data, compliance, built databases, and so I started plugging back in that skill set and saying, hey, what can I give as value to these clients that I'm working with so they actually succeed, because I want to keep buying from them and I want to support them and angel invest and do all these things. And so I realized, yes, I'm great at design, yes, I have a great eye, but my true self is black and white data. I am so good at the no emotion, telling you how it is, and making you better. And that was a really hard pill to swallow because I'm like, it's so pretty. I want to make websites. Like, I'm so good at it. And at that time, I was also getting sued, which is really fun. I've been sued twice as a freelancer. It's a great time. Let me tell you about it. And I was like, I'm fucking over this. Like, it's not worth it, right? If I'm already recognizing, man, this is my skill set. This is the piece that I want to live in. Why am I consistently battling people who are making my life a fucking hell, right? And so I, at the time, found Notion, and who knows what Notion is in here? Oh my god, thank god, okay. I did a call the other day, and like no one in this community knew what Notion was, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be rough. So I was starting to use Notion. I was kind of the first designer to publicly talk about using Notion to run my business. And I filmed a YouTube video, and it took off, and Notion came to me and said, hey, we have this consulting program. Do you want to go through it? Do you want to get the certification? I'm like, sure. Is it free? You don't have to pay for it? Like, and they're like, just take it, do the build, and let's see. So in 2022, I became the 10th US certified Notion consultant. At the time, there were only 40 of us in the world, and as of today, there are only 54 of us in the world that have been signed, sealed, and delivered by Notion, who literally is the reason I do what I do today. So, my entire business, I literally go into companies, and I build Notion for them, and I tell them how much their processes suck, and I quote-unquote give them a beat down, and then we make everything pretty, and we rebuild. And so my third company, I'm actually, thanks to Liz, she's sitting in the front row. I'm going to call her out. She's also one of my great friends. She taught me about ChatGPT. I was so against ChatGPT for months, y'all. I was like, I don't get it. Like, I can Google this. Like, why am I sitting here talking to a fucking robot? And took her workshop. It is after lunch. I'll need to go to it, okay? So did this workshop, and I learned about ChatGPT, and that has now turned into my third company, which is called Ops Department, and I'm building an AI-assisted hiring directory that is going to learn people's skills and their expertise and help people like you find somebody like me to build out ClickUp, to build out Notion, to fix your processes, to build ChatGPT prompts for you, right? So that's everything that I do, but outside of that, I do have a life, I promise. I have 2 dogs. Which is like weird to say because the second one just showed up, but it's great. I was going to be a single mom forever. But I have a YouTube channel. I've gotten so into live streaming over the past 3 months. I've been called the real life lo-fi girl, which is really like it's like too much of a compliment. But I literally just sit and I work live and I live stream literally what I'm doing for clients multiple days a week, and then I do live calls where I talk about how to build and sell Notion templates. We did a whole live a couple of weeks ago all about like how to set your prices for your business. And so that is really what I do. And so what we're going to talk about today is kind of how to combine all of that, right? It sounds like I do a lot, because I do. I have templates, I have videos, I have partnerships, I have multiple clients. I'm a team of 1. I literally don't have a team. I'm hiring my first VA, which is very stressful. It is very it's stressing me out. But we're going to talk about how I've automated and systemized all of that to only, literally, y'all, I work 5 hours a day. And I don't work nights, I don't work weekends, and I think I'm doing okay. I don't know, I'm here. Okay, so this is my business. I probably should have skipped to this slide, but I call myself the creative powerhouse of remote work because I am the solution for agencies and startups to systemize their tech stack, their team, and their processes. But what does that look like? What does our Juggling Act look like? What is the challenge of that? How many of y'all only have 1 income stream in your business? Okay, that's average. How many of y'all are not actively freelancing right now, but you're thinking about it? Okay, just so I know the room. Okay, great. How many of y'all have income streams that you actually like? Cool, awesome, love it. Okay, I was not in that seat about 2 years ago. I was very aware of my zone of genius, but I was overcomplicating everything. I was like, I gotta be on Dubsado, I gotta be on Honeybook, I've gotta be on Notion, I've gotta be on Google Drive. Oh, this client doesn't even know what that tool is, so fuck, I gotta run another one to make them happy so I can get paid, right? But what I found in that Juggling Act is this formula. It is this simple. Figure out what your zone of genius is, live in that zone of genius, simplify the heck out of your tech stack, okay? We always talk about, oh, subscriptions. There's so many subscriptions. Why do I have so many subscriptions, right? See some head nods going on. You need to look at your tech stack, and we're going to talk about this in a couple of slides. You need to look at your tech stack and figure out where you can double dip. If one system, software, has a feature that another one you're paying for does, get rid of the other one. You need to be simplifying as much as possible and double dipping everywhere that you can. The next piece is going to be your systems and your processes. And I know I can hear the groans in your non-groaning out loud brains, okay? You have to systemize and you have to process out. Because listen, I'm going to be very frank with y'all. Everyone in this room is replaceable, okay? You may own your company, you are replaceable. If you get sick, if you want to go on vacation, if you want to hire, and you haven't written it down, who is going to take and fill in that spot if it needs to be done? And that's, I say this with love, guys. This with so much love. Exit your business. Close your laptop at the end of the day and remove it from your personality. You need to build your business in a way that allows you to be who you are aside from freelancing, okay? COVID is over in the sense that lockdown is over. You can do other things. You can start a YouTube channel. You can create jewelry. You can learn how to bake. Doesn't have to be your entire personality. And systems and processes will literally get you there to be a happy, healthy, creative, okay? No stress, just blessed, right? So, streamlining workflows. So when we think about that, what does that look like? What does streamlining workflows look like? How many of y'all even use that language in your vocabulary? Okay, some of you, cool, okay. So for those who don't, workflows are literally your A to Z process of getting something done. So if we're thinking about client onboarding, right? Everybody knows we get on a sales call, we get on a discovery call, we write a proposal, we try to hopefully quote the right invoice, and hopefully we get paid what we think we should. And then what happens? We all sit in chaos. We're like, oh shit, I was going to template this thing out, but now I didn't. I have to do it manually. I've got to send a questionnaire. I've got to send emails. I've got to make a client portal. All of these things, right? So I did a video not too long ago on my YouTube channel about how my onboarding took 15 hours from the sales call to getting them into a kickoff call with me. 15 hours, because I did not templatize anything. Who wants to guess how long onboarding takes me now? 1 hour? An hour? 2 hours? 2 hours? Ooh, who said a minute? Yes! Okay, I literally don't touch onboarding. I don't get on a sales call unless I absolutely have to. So I went so streamlined that I am now a productized agency. Does anybody know what that is, that model? Some head shakes? Okay. So if you're in the design space, you're on design Twitter, you may have heard of Brett from Design Joy, who's made millions of dollars. He does this whole productized model. It's bullshit, don't look at it. But what I do is I give people the power to say, I want to work with you without jumping through hoops. And so you can literally pay me up front. I have one price. I do not custom quote. The only thing I custom quote is if it's an enterprise team, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But you can literally sign your contract, do your onboarding questionnaire, schedule a kickoff call without ever interacting with me. Because listen, I have real thick thighs and real thin patience. And I hate sales calls. I hate them. I would rather chew hot glass than sit in a call and be like, yeah, I know I can help you with that. Like, I'm the fucking expert, right? Like, why do you have to sit here and validate? If your sales page is good enough, you shouldn't have to do that. So that's a whole other workflow that you can streamline. Other thing, offboarding. I just want to talk about this too. Every single client that I've worked with in 5 years has not had an offboarding process. I am the offboarding girly, and I don't know why. But if you are not actively offboarding your clients and asking for a testimonial, asking for feedback, you are not growing. Okay, and I have a resource for you guys here in a second to help you do that. But all of these things, automating, systemizing, do you see like how we're talking about what that looks like and how easily attainable it is? That all you have to do is say, templatize this questionnaire, send it out, right? It's really not that difficult. The other thing I will say, and I get a lot of questions about automating invoices, right? Some people will be like, well, I have like 3 tiers, and sometimes I want to do some deliverables for people, but maybe I also do value-based pricing. How many of you guys do value-based pricing? Okay, change your model. I'm not trying to call you out specifically, but value-based pricing will literally not make you.
Well, I don't even know if I actually know what you mean.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I will explain. Great. So value-based pricing. So if I have client A, who's a nonprofit, right? Traditionally, we always knock our prices down like 15 to 30% for nonprofits because they don't have money. And then you have a client who is a team of 200 and they make $1 million a year, right? You're going to charge the $1 million team way differently than you charge that. Another thing that some people online explain value-based pricing to be is like, if the client doesn't value the work, you probably shouldn't charge them to value it because it's like throwaway money. It's whole bullshit. I hate every coach on the internet. I think it's all bullshit because everybody just goes surface level, right? We really want to dive deep. And so when we think about invoicing, we think about what tools to use with that. I straight go through Stripe. I don't have an accounting software. I don't have FreshBooks. I don't have QuickBooks. I'm trying to think Wave. I go straight through Stripe because you can create payment links immediately. Then you can use a tool like Zapier to automate sending that second invoice. I don't touch anything. And it all dumps into my Notion account to track invoices. So it is really It's really though, mainly, it is mainly looking at these three things that we're going to talk about. The first is going to be your business ecosystem workbook, okay? I give every single client that I work with this Notion doc. That QR code, you can scan it and get it for free if you use Notion. I also have them as Google Docs, so if you're like an avid no Notion person, just see me after and I will give you Google Doc links. But this workbook will answer every single question about your business without fail, okay? So it's going to ask you, what does your communication style look like, right? How many of you kind of like juggle it based on the client? You think you have a process, but some clients might be different. You're like, I guess I'll go into your Slack account, right? And you're miserable. You're like, why did I say yes to this, right? It's also going to ask you about your company culture. So this is something that I focus very, very heavily on, especially now as we are in this async work period within the workforce. But your company culture is so important, right? People matter. And it's actually interesting. So I'm going to tell you guys a story. So I recently signed on a marketing agency that works with Guy Fieri, Xbox, and I am burning their business down. And something that their CEO said to me was, 25-year-olds are done. They need to be told what to do. This is a dictatorship. It is not a democracy. Oh, girl. It was quite a shock to me, but I actually understood where he was coming from because we were talking about processes. We were talking about how the business operates. 25-year-olds are not done, but I know for a fact, when I was 25, I was not making decisions like this, right? I kind of was, but that's besides the point. I was forced into it. I did not know what I was doing. That's the point, right? But when we take away those decision-making abilities for the rest of our team, and we're creating processes, that is when you can focus on the culture. How are people interacting? How are they communicating? Are your VAs skipping over your project manager and coming straight to you because they can't find the answer? Do you even have a system for them to find the answer without bogging you down in Slack, right? And I know a lot of you guys are solopreneurs in here, which is okay, but you're going to grow over time. I know you're probably like, no, I'm going to run my business forever by myself. Listen, get yourself a VA, okay? Get yourself a marketing person, a content person. But this doc specifically is going to answer every single question that has frustrated you for as long as you've had a business, okay? Yeah.
What is a VA?
A virtual assistant. Yeah, so I'm hiring for 2 VA, just a shout out if you guys want to come work for me. I'm hiring someone solely to manage my schedule. So I've got sponsorships and brand deals, client work, right? So like I can't be in calls all day, every day. So this person's kind of becoming the middle person for me to filter where should I leave my time. Another thing I'm hiring for is I use Firefly's AI for note taking. I no longer take notes in any call. I'm not your admin assistant. It is not my job. So Fireflies comes in, and I'm hiring a VA to literally look at every single Fireflies note and create tasks for me because I don't have time. I'm literally in 20 hours of calls a week. I don't have time to go back and make the notes. So that is the first step that I tell everybody. Use this workbook, okay? Also, too, what are the other things? What are current problems facing your company culture due to remote work software? Do you have somebody on your team who it's so hard to nail down because they're in a different time zone? Or maybe, you guys know I'm very transparent. I think you've learned that about me so far. I had somebody on my team for a little while who is a single mom. And that's great. I'm proud child-free, but I also respect people who have kids, right? This individual that I'd hired could not keep a schedule because of her home situation, which makes it really hard to set deadlines and figure out, like, what is our momentum as a team? So this doc is going to help you set and look at all of that too. Now the next thing is your client process audit guide. This literally is my lead magnet on my site. It is what funnels into my content subscription that I sell, and it does great. I don't market it. This is another automated process that makes me money, right? So this doc in particular is going to help you look at every process in your business, jot down from step A to step Z, what do you do, right? And again, as you're doing these docs, I want you to remember that you are replaceable. Love yourself, celebrate the work that you've done, but replace yourself, okay? So even if you're like, oh, well, it's kind of a given that a lead comes to my website. Well, maybe not necessarily. I just worked with a client who only gets leads through Instagram. And she's like, I literally cannot manage my Instagram account anymore. I don't even want to be on Instagram anymore. And so it's like, okay, well, we need to figure out how to set up that automated message to get them to go to your website instead of you manually linking it every single time your sales page. So things that seem like a no-brainer, you still need to document and write down. And you need to write down, is it a manual task that you're doing or is it an automated task that you're doing? So a great example up here is a lead submits an application on the website, right? The client is doing that manually. They're typing in that contact form. But then that form is getting auto-dumped into your leads tracker in Notion, right? Your CRM, whatever. If you're using Folk, if you're using Honeybook, if you're using JumpsAuto, whatever you're using, right? The automated part is adding it automatically. You're not having to add that data in. So being mindful of where this is at. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of the 80-20 rule. I don't know what that means. That has never made sense to me. I don't get it. I'm not a math girly. I failed algebra twice in high school and in college. But what I can tell you is it is 80-20. 80% of your processes should be automated, okay, at minimum. I'm very fortunate that my onboarding is 100% automated, and you can get to that point. You do not need to be involved in every single process in your business for it to have value, okay? And this process guide is going to take you through onboarding, creative delivery, offboarding, all of that good stuff. If you have different processes, if you don't do that kind of workflow of your business is a little bit different. I know some people do retainer work, so thinking about what does retainer work look like for you. I cannot talk today. And go through this, and as you start to write these down, also I want you looking at why do you do this process, okay? This was a hard conversation I had to have with myself about 2-3 years ago. I paid $17,000 for a business coach who told me my business was shit, okay? It was the worst experience of my life. Never got that money back and got nothing from that coaching program. And I think that is my bone to pick, and I'm very spiteful. But a lot of coaches and a lot of programs will literally tell you, burn it all down. Nothing is valid. Only listen to what I'm telling you to do. That is all you should be doing. It's bullshit, right? You built your business, you understand it, you know the value, and you just need a little pick-me-up, right? So when you're thinking about all of these processes and everything that you're doing, I want you to also think about why you're doing it. Did somebody just tell you? Well, every brand designer does onboarding this way. Everybody sends a questionnaire before you get on a call. Why? What the fuck do you talk about in the call? If you send the questionnaire beforehand, what do you talk about? Oh, I guess I'll come up with some questions, right? I don't even send questionnaires. I do the questionnaire in the call. Because if you're saying it before, why are you getting on a strategy call? If you're making them do the strategy before you're talking to them in the strategy call. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Okay. So ask yourself, why are you doing it? If you think it's bullshit, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Marie Kondo the fuck out of your business, okay? It is okay to do that. Like a great example, I hate writing proposals. I have hated writing proposals since the day that I sat in those seats 5 years ago. And I wasn't even freelancing yet, okay? I hate that because you second guess yourself. Like, am I charging enough? Am I adding too many deliverables? Is the timeline right? Like, you literally go through all of those like imposter syndrome questions. So what I did, I remember the moment. I literally used to quote everybody the same price. So why am I writing a proposal, right? So now to work with me, it's a flat $7K to start, and then implementation is custom after that because I'm not going to be stuck data migrating 8,000 records for you from one platform to another, right? So figure out a number that works for you and move on. Send one invoice, call it a day. All right, I need a water break, y'all. I told y'all I talk a lot, but there's so much here, and I want y'all to realize that, like, systems and processes don't have to kill you. They can invigorate and ignite your energy, okay? So, the third and final guide that I want to share with you guys, I have used this guide for 5 years now. And I do it after every single client, no matter how big the client was, and no matter if they decided to sue me, all right? So the post-project review guide is going to be the only sole reason that your business grows. I don't care how much you invest, I don't care how much you charge, if you charge extra, if you charge more, I do not care, okay? If you are not actively reviewing every single project after it is done, how do you know what the red flags were in a client? How do you know what skill set you learned from that project 6 months later when a brand new client's coming to you and you're like, well, I've never done that before, but you actually have, right? This is going to tell you everything you need to know about how to shift your business in the right way, all right? And this, I'm gonna tell you all the story. This is the document of why I started seeing a business therapist. Because I kept getting clients, and I say this with love, I love all of you, I can't work with freelancers anymore. This was the document that told me that is not my niche. And it took me years to understand why. And the biggest reason is, I didn't even tell you guys personally about my bio. Okay, I'm gonna get deep for a second. For those of you who know me, and if you don't know me, I was a runaway at 15. I put my dad in prison at 17, and he is still there. I've been on my own since I was 17, and I've had to figure all this shit out, right? I also have gone no contact with my mother, my stepmom, pretty much my entire family, for trauma and all of those things. So, I kept getting bad clients, right? And telling you that backstory because this matters, okay? I kept getting bad clients where I'm like, why am I not a girl's girl? Why am I having so many issues with female entrepreneurs? And I feel like this is a safe space, which is why I'm telling all this. Please don't come at me on the internet. But what we realized is I have so much trauma from my mother that I don't do well with women who talk to me as a parent. And I don't know how to explain it, but there's very much a difference. And if you have kids, maybe you understand. Maybe if you don't have kids, you've been around older women in the workplace that just kind of talk at you and don't talk with you. And Esther, who's my best friend sitting up front, we met, we worked in a nonprofit together for 7 or 8 years. We had a coworker that literally did this to me all the time. And I kid y'all not, I used to go home every single day crying from this job. Because I got yelled at for putting an exclamation mark in an email. I would get yelled at for being energetic and bubbly and friendly, right? And I always felt like I was in trouble. And the same thing happened with the older female clients that I was getting, is they kept trying to tell me how to do my job, right? And so that was the hardest pill to swallow, y'all, especially after I got sued. That was kind of the end for me where I was like, I can't work with this niche. And it broke me. It broke me because I'm like, fuck, people are going to think that I'm a girl's girl and I hate women, and not the case. But there are very specific personalities that sometimes you just clash with, right? The other thing that I found out from this review guide and looking at all the past entries and think of it as like a journal, right? It's your best friend. It's your safe space, right? Is that I don't handhold, period. I do not care. It is not my job. I'm not your admin assistant. I was hired to be a consultant and to truly show you my skill set and fix your business. I don't do well with people who have never hired a contractor before. Because people who've never outsourced don't understand the difference between contracting and employees. And there's a very fine line, if any of you have experienced this, that they want to talk to you all the time. They want to brainstorm with you. They want, I see those heads shaking. Yeah, you've experienced this, okay? I would rather chew glass, all right? I am not your friend. And so what I ended up doing is, because we all go through fluctuations with our income and incoming clients. And this was kind of when everyone was fearful of the recession about a year ago. I was like, fuck, like I have to pick up all this money, right? Like I have so much financial trauma, y'all, it's not even funny. I literally turned 18 and I had 60 grand in debt that I didn't know about because my parents were stealing my credit. And like, so I was in this like, oh my God, I gotta get clients. Like, what if the recession happens and my dog is homeless, right? Like, I've got to figure it out. And so what we realized in reviewing all of this with my therapist was that people that are in this, like, they've never hired a contractor before, they need this hand-holding that I can't do. I just want to do my job, right? And so I was still picking up these clients and trying to be like, okay, like I can create resources and I can create this, like, here's how to use Notion. I don't give a fuck. Google it. It's not my job to teach you how to use Notion, okay? Like, Google it. It is not hard. And so all of this to say, this doc is going to break you. Y'all, it will break you, but you have to be open and honest with yourself or you're not going to grow your business, okay? I say all of that to say that sometimes, to go back to the financial thing, is that even when you are fearful of not making money or you have to take a project because maybe you didn't make as much last quarter, or you didn't make as much the year before, and you're trying to like really pick up, this doc is going to hold you accountable. Because if you're in here saying red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, yet you're still exhibiting those habits, right? I don't know, who's watched the new season of Love is Blind? Yeah. Okay, so I just watched episode 1 last night, and one thing this girl said was, I see the red flags and I just paint my nails red to match. Okay? If you are doing that in your business and just matching to your red flags, you are going to fail, guys, okay? That is the best quote. I'm like, I gotta make a sweatshirt with it on. So grab this doc, I'm telling you, it's going to be great. But it's also going to help you recognize what you love about projects, right? So what did you love most? For right now, for me, I talked about Guy Fieri's team, which took me 6 months to land this client, and it has been a whirlwind. But the money's great. But what I love is that it's finally challenging me. I got hired specifically to override their entire Google workspace. I'm rebuilding it from the ground up. Never been hired to do that before, but sure, I can figure it out, right? We can all Google, we can all use ChatGPT, we can all figure things out. And so as you're reviewing your projects, think about what you love about them too. Was it the design style? I'm calling Liz out too, I'm so sorry. Liz went through a transition, we've known each other for years at this point, but she was kind of just doing design for a lot of different niches, and then she got really into interior design. And that is her niche, right? So in reviewing her past projects and what she's picking up, she's realizing, this is my wheelhouse. So this doc is gonna help you guys do that as well, okay? I told y'all it was gonna be a rough session, y'all. Like, I hope I'm not overwhelming everybody. All right. So let's talk about my tech stack. This is literally what I use to run my business. This is it. This is all I use. So if you're not familiar with any of these logos, let's go through the client tech stack. So the first logo is going to be Paperform. I'm actually the first certified Paperform expert, which is really fun and exciting. So I use them for everything. It's a form tool. Think of Typeform just with like 12 extra beautiful features. They also just released their sister tool called PaperSign, which is literally a signature document tool. So if you're doing contracts, custom signatures, it's all built into your forms. Obviously Notion, run my website on Squarespace. I use Zapier for anything that doesn't have native webhooks. Miro is what I use to brainstorm and develop all of my projects. I use cal.com, so I'm a huge Calendly advocate for several years. How many of you all are on Calendly? Okay, burn them down because their community sucks. And they're really mean about building community with their users. So I went to cal.com, which is an open source version of Calendly. The founder and the team are incredible. And it's free, y'all. You do not pay for cal.com. And it has more features than Calendly. Specifically, it allows you to decline calls coming on your schedule. So a great example, I have this like little day rate offer that I offer for like, you just need a quick dashboard or whatever. It's a flat fee. You pay for it and schedule the day through Cal. But if I'm busy or like my partner and I, we bought 6 acres down in Uvalde, and so we're down there pretty much every weekend, right? And so if I'm gonna like be hiking or building our outhouse or whatever, I might not need to take on that project and I can reschedule it. So there's a lot of really cool features there. I talked about Fireflies. So Fireflies is that F logo. It is an AI note taker that records all of the audio, transcribes the entire thing, and then using AI pulls out all action items, questions, everything. It also auto sends to everybody that was in the call. So I don't even have to follow up with clients. Here's our meeting notes. Have a great day. Obviously Google, Gmail, all of that, and then Stripe. I do not do any accounting software. I got rid of FreshBooks. I was paying like $45 a month for it. I don't use it. I send all of my invoices through Stripe. They are automatic payment links. And then their dashboard's actually gotten really good for incoming, looking at incoming money. And then I actually track all of my expenses, or rather one of my VA does, in Notion. We have an expense tracker in there. And that's mainly because I really want to start paying for things annually instead of monthly. A great example, for some reason, I'm paying HP printer ink $1 every single month. Why? Couldn't tell you, don't know. But I found that out because everything was previously automated in FreshBooks. It was linked to my bank account. I was never looking at my expenses. And I made more money than I ever did last year, but I spent more than half of it. And it's like, on what? I literally stay at home. Like, I don't go anywhere. Like, where is my money going? So I got rid of all of that, and I do financials manually. That is the only thing in my business that is manual. One thing that I didn't really touch on before that I think is important is that I templatize everything. So my motto at my company is you do it manual once, you templatize it for every time you use it after. So every client that I build a Notion workspace for, I'm doing a ClickUp build right now, everything has been turned into templates because if I ever get a client again, I'm going to pull from my library. I am not building a content calendar 12 different times. I'm not doing it. So now let's look at our creative tech stack because 60% of my business is content. So obviously I use Notion. I've gotten really into live streaming, so I use a platform called Restream.io, and that allows you to stream to every single social channel that you link and own. So I go live 3 times a week, and I stream to YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn all at the same time. It is my #1 lead gen for my business, aside from the Notion directory. That's a whole other conversation. Those are very cheap projects. I land clients straight from YouTube. I had a girl that reached out literally last night that was like, hey, I saw this video you did about automating a photographer's business, who happens to be my own photographer, just as great, and was like, can you replicate that entire thing? That's what I want. How much is it? So now I'm building a digital product of her entire workflow, and I'm just going to sell it, right? So when I think about our content, you have to use what you're already doing to your advantage, okay? And so I do not reinvent the wheel. If I talk about it with a client, it goes on my channel. Like nothing is off limits. The only thing I don't share is the client's name out of respect. I work very heavily under NDA. I've been name dropping Guy Fieri, but whatever. Like it's fine because I'm very proud of this project. But like I would never on my YouTube channel say this is for Guy Fieri, right? I would never specifically say this project is for Cat Metro, right? I don't work for Cat Metro, but Esther does, so that's why I said it. But then I use Cast Magic. So I live stream everything. I no longer sit and script and record and edit and do all that. It takes too fucking long, y'all. It takes too long. So I live stream, I go live, and then I download that video and I use a tool called Cast Magic, where you upload a video or a podcast, if any of y'all are podcasters in here, and it transcribes your video and uses AI to create a newsletter, a blog post, so SEO keywords, other YouTube video descriptions and titles. It's insane, the amount of work that it does. And you can also train it. Just like ChatGPT, you can train the AI to say, oh, I want this in first person, or make it more witty, or however you guys use your branding. But you should go to that and learn how to talk about your branding to a robot. The next thing is I use Lemon Squeezy. That's like that little side lemon for all of my digital products. That is the platform I use. I jumped ship from Gumroad and I have never looked back. I think their branding is the worst thing in the entire world, and I don't want to look at it. So I switched over to Lemon Squeezy. They're an incredible platform. Little plug, I will be on their podcast in about a month, so look out for that episode. And then I use Flowdesk. I have been on Flowdesk since Rebecca and Martha launched it about 6 years ago. I believe in what they are doing so heavily. You could not pay me $1 million to go to ConvertKit, to go to Beehive. I love Flowdesk, okay? And that is all I use. And I made $600,000 last year. And I'm a team of one, and this is all I use. Thank you. But so what I'm trying to say is, you do not need to complicate your business. The more you simplify, the more you look at every angle of your business, the more money you will make, okay? All right, so where are we at? All right, so, to go into the project model. So I kind of already talked about this, but at every stage of my business, these are the tools that I use. So kind of what I talked about earlier about double dipping, right? Notion is involved every step of the way. So is Cal.com. I have Cal integrated everywhere. Clients do get their own custom calendar for me because how I work, and if you guys care at all, I dedicate 1 day a week to a specific client. So I don't really do like the time blocking thing, like that doesn't really work for me. I'm more like, I don't want to take calls after 12 p.m., which I know is the complete opposite of what the majority does. I don't want to interrupt my workflow with a call at 2 in the afternoon or at 10 a.m., right? So I actually am a very early riser. A lot of my clients are on the East Coast, so I get that kind of hour buffer already. And then I have one team right now, they're a team of like 250, which is insane. They actually hired me off of a YouTube video, paid me up front, never talked to me. It was wild. I was like, I am not qualified to do this, but here we are, we're gonna make it work, like Tim Gunn says. So with that, a lot of their team is in Europe. And so I also have that benefit of getting on calls way earlier in the day because it's already afternoon for them. So I don't take calls past 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and then that allows me the entire rest of the day. I don't have to talk to anybody, I don't have to see anybody, my dogs have gone potty, I am hydrated, and I'm good to go, right? So this is what I use, and I don't complicate it, but with my time, I think it's really important when we think about kind of that review guide and what we want in our business. Even though you yourself are replaceable as your role in your job, right? You call yourself a content marketer, right? Anybody can be a content marketer. I'm a content marketer. I market myself, right? But you yourself are in that role currently, which means your time, your energy, your commitments are very important. So if you are not an early riser, work at night. Who the fuck cares? Who cares, right? I did a whole challenge in December. I live streamed every day for 45 days. It was wild. Specifically testing Picasso's workflow theory of only working at night. And when I tell y'all, my productivity skyrocketed because my boyfriend wasn't bothering me, my dogs weren't bothering me, my clients weren't bothering me, no one's on Twitter at 3 in the morning, right? And so that I got the most work I've ever done. But it's not sustainable for me because I like my sleep and I hate blackout curtains. So for me, I was like, okay, I gotta figure this out. And so for me, what it really looks like is where does my energy sit? Where do I want my energy to sit? When I live stream, I look at the data and say, well, the majority of people are on my channel between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Cool, 2 p.m. it is to live stream, and that works for us, right? So those are the things you need to think about when you are productizing your workflow. What I mean by that is you are setting the tone, you are setting your own standard, and you are respecting it and calling it a day. Not every 6 months being like, I think I'm gonna change this, I think I'm just bored with it. No, if it is not broken, don't change it. Got it? But be strategic on what you are choosing, okay? If you need help, I have several resources on my YouTube channel and my website. The next thing, this is a full insight into my Notion account. The thing is, if you are using Notion or you're using ClickUp or if you're using whatever, right? Simplify. But also categorize, okay? So when we look at businesses, especially as solopreneurs, we tend to kind of blend in gray areas, okay? I want you to start thinking about your business as a corporate entity and looking at every single thing you do as a specific department in your business, okay? So our daily ops, this is my homepage of Notion. These are literally my active clients. I screenshotted this 2 days ago. So you guys can see, this is what my commitment looks like, right? I've got, I don't know, I've got like 13 clients or something. Then I have all of my tasks, which I group by what is today's focus, all of my client tasks, and then the other shit. I literally call it the other shit. It's stuff that doesn't have a due date, but things that need to get done, right? But if you look at my team spaces, so if you're not familiar with Notion, this is like the side, this is like the navigation that you use. So I have my favorites, these are things that I do every single day, finances, sales, content. But then in the team spaces, these are those departments that I'm talking about. So your admin, what does admin look like to you? Is it your finances? Is it your tasks? Really think about what each of these look like. If you don't have products, you're not gonna have product team space, right? You should digitize and you should sell templates and maybe not Notion templates, but whatever works for you, right? Then you have your clients. So everything that has to do with clients are in one space. Everything that has to do with products is in one space. Content, one space, okay? You should not have your media kit mixed in with Sally Sue's client portal, okay? You need to organize your stuff. I also, if you guys are web designers in here, I was a Squarespace expert, because I still am, but I can, whatever. We have a great Squarespace group here in Austin. If you're not a part of it, see me after and we'll get you added. But I talk a lot about this too, that when you are organizing the back end of your site, follow the same naming conventions, right? Organize files of pages that have to do with clients, right? So your service pages, your product pages. Because one of the things that I found in workflows and automation is also reducing the amount of brain switching you are doing. So if you've built one tool one way because it's comfortable, mirror it to as much as you can to those other tools, right? So this is literally what the back end of my Squarespace website looks like. It says clients, products, content, archive because, you know, we keep everything. I've got probably 50 pages of Squarespace back there that is just like from my life, right? And then obviously I have ops department, that's my new company I'm building, and then my personal is like stuff for our cabin, my recipe tracker, rent, you know, whatever. So keep it as simple as you possibly can, okay? All right, and then, what time is lunch, y'all?
45.
45. Okay. Okay, so I basically talked about this. So your creative ecosystem, everything should feed into itself. So I talked about that with my YouTube channel. If you are not creating, I don't know, websites for mommy bloggers, why are you making content about mommy bloggers? Right? Why are you forcing yourself into a system that makes it hard for you? I get so many people who are like, I just don't know what kind of content to make. And it's like, well, what did you do for your clients? What do you do every day? Like, why are you not talking about that stuff? Because in the same breath, they're like, I'm just not getting the clients I want. And so where you're talking about the work, right? I'm going to call you guys out as designers, because I did this several years ago. Why are you writing social posts about your favorite fonts of the month? You're laughing, but I know you've done it, okay? What is that? How does that give you a client? Okay? I think the other thing to think about, quality over quantity. Okay, I don't give a shit what the algorithm is telling you. You do not need to post 5 times a day. You do not need to set 12 fucking TikToks and do all of this work. You need to be very strategic about what you are putting into this ecosystem. And I talk a lot about this as gears, right? These are the gears of your business. And if one is jammed, the other ones are jammed, right? So your client work should always feed your digital products. That's literally how I got started with Notion, y'all. I filmed that YouTube video, and I had a woman from Ireland email me 8 times to say, hey, please build my Notion account. I'm like, bro, I make logos. Like, I don't know, right? I was not comfortable. And then finally, after that 8th email, I was like, you know what? If she's asking for it, chances are other people are looking for this, right? And so I cut her a deal. I'm going to tell y'all some numbers to kind of close this out for a second. I charged her $450 for a full, I know, for a full Notion workspace. How much do you guys want to guess that I've made off that template in 3 years? No.
120.
$115,000. So it's like, yeah, I charge a little less, but if you see the value in templatizing something and throwing it, and mind you, let me also say, that template bundle I sold for $47 as a template, okay? Like, and I made 6 figures off of it because it was needed in the market that I'm in, okay? So those are the things to think about. And even too, using that review guide, seeing, okay, what can I templatize? I had a client recently who has a course on Circle, and it is like, they only get 6 months access to it, right? And so in that, it was like, okay, how are we gonna automatically remove these people after 6 months if they don't buy into the alumni price? And I figured out, Googled it, played with it, figured it out, that we could use Zapier tables as kind of a database to hold these enrollments and then automatically remove from Circle. I filmed a video on it, y'all. It has like 12,000 impressions on LinkedIn. Like, okay, I also now have a call with Zapier for a brand deal. Like it's just wild to me, and it's like, it took me 10 seconds to film it. I didn't have makeup on, I didn't brush my hair, I was literally in my PJs, and I filmed this freaking video. And it's just like, there's so much you can do, but you have to remove that fear that everything has to be perfect and polished and pretty. And that's honestly why I started live streaming, y'all, because I hang out with a lot of dudes on the internet. I am on Twitter, and I love it, and it is great for me. But I was like, fuck, I gotta look good. My hair's gotta be done. I've gotta have my makeup on, right? I live stream, and I'm like, chilling. You know, and there is no fear there anymore. And that was my way of breaking down that wall and that barrier to say, I'm a human. You're a human. You're a human. You're humans, right? We are all the same, right? I was watching Love is Blind last night, and I'm like, this girl has a lot of fucking makeup on. What does she look like without that, right? That is what your content should be. You don't always have to show up as the perfect, polished leader expert that all these fucking internet coaches are telling you to be. Show up the way that your audience knows you and loves you for, okay? And then let that drive your other creative elements, whether you are, I don't know, writing a book or exploring making jewelry or, you know, whatever you want to do and explore. all of those first 2 years can feed into creating time for you to do those other things, okay? I will get off my high horse. And these are all those links again. All of them are free except the last one here. This is actually my paid content vault. I actually just renamed it. It is literally every single thing I've ever created in the last 5 years for freelancers, and it's $200.